Hello, this is Qualms visiting again from the Grim Wayside, and today we have another box from Inscape. Inscape boxes. This is the Wild West Riddles box. This was the second to the most recent box. The most recently released box was Stonehenge's Legacy. I purchased this box as an add-on to that Kickstarter. Um, I have a complicated relationship with my feelings about Inscape boxes. So, while I would say that I generally like this box, it does illustrate some of the problems I have with Inscape boxes in general. So, let's go ahead and open it up first. I do like the aesthetics of this box very much. The laser cut wood is my favorite aesthetic. Some of the colored boxes look a little goofy to me, so I like the way this box looks. It's currently for sale for $54 on Amazon. It's a little bit more on Inkscape's own website. Um, I like that it looks like a little saloon. I think it's kind of cute. It gives it sort of something a little different from the straight up like box shaped escape boxes. It reminds me more of something like Escapewelt's Quest Pyramid or their Quest Tower. So the little saloon is kind of cute. Ultimately, you want to open these four windows that are around the outside of the box. Each one of those is a solution to one of the dials on the bottom of the puzzle. And then ultimately, the prize is to open up the little saloon door in the front. So I kind of like the theming for this particular puzzle, but the puzzles themselves can be a little frustrating. So starting the puzzle at start, which is always nice. It's nice to have clear instructions on where to begin with these puzzle boxes. You can barely see that there are bottles engraved on the side here. Each one has a time listed on its label. The shape of the bottle is different, not for each one of them. A couple of them are similarly shaped, but this one has a long, skinny neck. This one has some indentations at the bottom. This one has rounded shoulders. This one has squared off shoulders. So, all of the bottles do have a slightly different appearance. The labels are different. This one is a diamond inside a square. This one has a double border, for example. And then there is a picture of all of the boxes overlaid on each other over here. They're kind of difficult to read. That can be a problem with some of these Inkscape boxes. There's one puzzle, for example, on the Maya's Myths box that is almost borderline like unreadable, which made it so difficult to solve for me. But so it's a little difficult to see, but there's a series of bottles here, and the bottles have times on the label. So there's 12:53, 5:16, 10:35, 3:58, and 8:17. It seems pretty self-evident that it's a progression of time that you need to come up with some kind of sequence for, and that would go into the clock on the top. Um, it has sort of an odd angle here where the 12 and the 6 are sort of diagonal on the box, not perfectly diagonally, but like sort of semi-diagonally on the top of the box, and then the 3 and the 6 are here. It has one movable hand. This would be the minutes hand, and it has one engraved hand, which is the hours hand. Now, the solution for this sequence is not doesn't exactly make a lot of sense. And I'm still not sure. I've looked at their website and I'm still not sure I understand the entirety of the logic of their puzzle. But I know that when I was just trying to see, does this thing move? So I was just turning it for funsies. The thing just comes off by itself. So you can very easily just in seeing how can I manipulate this thing, and you do have to be a little careful. These long arms, if your box is a little sticky, and mine was a little sticky when I first got it, feel very close to breaking. So you do have to be a little careful when you're turning these thin, long arms. But just by virtue of manipulating it to see, does this thing turn? The top already comes off, and that is the solution to the box. The solution to the hours puzzle is 1 o'clock. It just fits in there and it comes out at 1. looking at it from the side, the mechanism, this minute's hand doesn't do anything. The answer to the minute's hand is 30, so the answer to the top is 130. But this minute's hand is actually irrelevant, and you solve the puzzle simply by turning it and it pops out. It's frustrating that you don't actually have to have an answer to the puzzle to have already solved it. But the answer to this sequence puzzle, just quickly, is that each hour advances by 5 on the clock. And so that will get you through past the progression. It'll get you to 1 o'clock. That's all you need, because all you need to know is the hour to make the top come off. But the tens of the minute's hand is a base of 6 rather than a base of 12 like the clock hours, and then the minutes hand is actually, on a base 10 scale, so I'm not exactly sure where you're supposed to understand, when they switch from a base 12 to a base 6 to a base 10, but it's kind of irrelevant because you don't need that minutes hand to do anything. It doesn't function as anything. So going back to the clock at the top, when you take it out, there's two things that happen. You reveal a series of symbols, both on the piece that comes out and the piece that's inside. And then you have these two circles here that have pins in them. And these pins just fall out, or should, with that was not supposed to come out yet. The pins are supposed to come out, these two tiny little pins, which then release these sliders. And this little window here was actually supposed to be released by those sliders. So I'm going to put these pins to the side. I'm going to put these two sliders to the side. And by taking out those pins and taking out those sliders, you can then take out these front two windows. The pictures of the gunslingers on the fronts of the windows don't have any meaning to them. They are purely decorative. And that's kind of one of the things I find frustrating about these boxes from Inscape is sometimes they have things that look like they should be purposeful, but actually aren't. They're not part of a puzzle. So there's a little mouse here, and there's it's less the grass here, but there's like a wanted poster. None of those things, they're all purely decorative. They don't have any actual use. Um, that's more irritating when you get to something like the bottom here, where you have a snake, and I really thought the snake must mean something. The snake does not mean anything. It's purely decoration. Same things for like the cactus and the birds. It's all decoration. I don't like that with my boxes. I like to have everything actually have a meaning or have a purpose, but it is what it is. So revealing the symbols on the top piece and the symbols here, it's this matter of matching up which symbols go together, for example, a gun with a holster, until you end up with two symbols that don't have a match. And then those symbols are the ones that are on these dials here. The first time I solved this, I actually was just turning the dials in this direction, and it actually walked this one piece right um, out of the two windows that it holds in. So it's possible to solve this simply like this top piece by simply turning it. It's possible to also solve this one just by turning it without knowing what the meaning is. The other thing I didn't really like about this puzzle was that the indicators are little money signs, because that it seemed to hint to me that it would have something to do with the value of something. I thought a gold mine must surely be the most pricey thing, so surely gold mine would be the answer, but that didn't make a lot of sense with the symbols that were on the top. But it turns out that these little money symbols are really just indicators, like it would be like a line or a pointy arrow, just telling you where to line up your indicators at. Um, but ultimately, the wagon goes with the wagon wheel, the holster with the gun, the cow with the brand, the fork and the plate go together, the wagon with the wheel, which leaves you with this cook pot. and this spur, and trying to figure out that it was a spur was part of my challenge in the beginning. It looked more like a scoop, maybe like a feed scoop or something. Or I thought maybe it kind of looked like almost like a bear trap even, but it's actually a spur. So the answer that goes into these dials is the fire for the cook pot, and then the boot for the spurs. And that releases this slider out of here. And this one has no other use. So we'll just put it to the side up here. And that releases the two windows that are on either side. They pull out like the ones on the previous side. This one is just a window. It's a little hard to see the engraving. And this one has a cowboy and a lady dancing or fighting. It's a little difficult to say. It doesn't mean anything. It's just decoration. So going back to the windows, then each one of these 4 windows is going to solve one of the dials that appears on the bottom of the box. This door or this window in the front is full of puzzle pieces. I'm going to just dump those out for the moment so I can manipulate the box. One of the things I find difficult about this box, again, it's a little difficult to read these engravings because they're so faint and so light. But seeing the engravings that are inside the rooms, they are on the ceiling, they are on the walls, they are on the floors, makes it very tricky to see everything at once and kind of get a full picture. But this first window right here is full of brands. And ultimately, what you're doing is you're trying to find the brand that is the odd one out. So, for example, there are 2 of the brands that have little legs that look like they're walking. So, those little walking legs for the D and the T, you can kind of see the T right there. You can eliminate those because they have a pair. There's brands that have a diamond around them. You can eliminate those 2 because there are 2 of them. There are some with horns on them. You can eliminate the 2 that have horns. And ultimately, what you do when you eliminate all of those is the one that you have left is a B with an arrow over the top of it. And so there is one. Oh. Oh, that's part of the frustration of this puzzle. This is the winning coin. I don't know what it just fell out of, but it just fell out of the box somehow. I don't know where it came from, but it just fell out. This is what you get when you finish the box. I guess I'm going to put it to the side over here. Pretend that it's still in there. In any case, the brands are here. One thing I noticed, I thought they were locked at one point because they wouldn't move. It turns out that's really just because the box was sort of resting on itself. So in order to get these dials to move, they aren't locked by any means. Once you remove these windows, I think these little prongs lock them. But once you've removed these windows, if you can't get the dials to move, just push on this little X a little bit, wiggle it around to release the dials. I think it's just a friction issue. But there is a B with a little arrow on this particular dial that's underneath of the snake. The snake, again, doesn't mean anything. It's just decoration. The next side window that's over here, the solution includes the 2 sliders that came out. They have a partial engraving on each one. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to, maybe I can get this to work on camera, but you can kind of already see, you can see Maine and Florida and Texas. You can see that it's an outline of the United States and they're missing a few pieces. Then if you put this one in, this is the part of the United States that has the Great Lakes. And then this other piece has the western side of, or the eastern side of Texas, I guess I should say, the pan. And so you can kind of see that inside they make up the outline of the United States. Only one of the dials has a United States symbol on it down here. And so there it is right there. So there's the United States. It's underneath of the one that's for the brand. And then we have the 2 remaining sliders. So the difficulty for these is varies a great deal between which window you're actually opening. So this window here was full of puzzle pieces. Some of the puzzle pieces have symbols on them, and some of them have lines only with flat edges. So the ones that have flat edges go together. The ones that don't have flat edges have symbols on the back. There is a horseshoe, a pile of gold, a rope, and a bomb. A bomb. The pieces that have the flat edges on them have a gun and some trajectory lines and a bullet. And the idea is to match up these trajectory lines until you create a little box that then you can follow the line to the bullet. Only one of these pieces that have a picture on them will fit into the box when it's done. So you have to assemble this into a 3-dimensional box, which is a little tricky. Again, trying to keep all the pieces together at once. But all those flat edges do line up together. So you do have to manipulate this with your fingers to keep it together. But you can follow that line from the gun here. Follow it over here. It bounces up and down. And so what you want to do is find the piece that'll bounce from here. So you can try different orientations to see if you can get any of these to work. So there is no orientation where the rope fits those lines or the horseshoe or the gold, just to cut to the chase here. But there is an orientation where the bomb works because there we go. The symbol is the bomb. You can see how those lines, so you can see where these lines match up, going all the way around the box until you can follow them to the bullets. This only works with the bomb piece, so the answer to the puzzle window for this one is the little bomb. So the bomb goes into the dial that is next to the snake, not catty corner. And so the last one that we're trying to figure out is the one that is catty corner to the snake. And this one is more involved than some of the other puzzles. So in this window, on the ceiling, on the sides, and on the bottom, you can see stacks of, I thought they were money, but they're poker chips. It's very difficult to actually count them looking in the windows. They're very difficult, especially the ones on the tops and sides, to kind of get a clear count. But you see that each pile has a letter under it. And each side also has a shape. So this side over here has a circle, a triangle. The bottom has a hexagon, and then the back has a square. On the inside here, it says winner equals question mark. So in order to ascertain, what I thought I was doing was counting piles of money and trying to figure out from each side if player A, B, and C had more money or not. That's not what's happening here. So you actually have to flip it upside down. And underneath the roof here, you can see that these are poker chips. And they each have a symbol. So A is a horseshoe, B is a clover. Hard for me to see at the same time as you. The C is a rabbit's foot. I thought it was a mouse for a long time, but I am assured by everyone that it is a rabbit's foot. D is a star, E is a feather, and F is a wishbone, which is sometimes, I guess, on those hints called a divining rod, I guess. But it's a turkey wishbone. Then it wants you to turn it over to this side where you find the mathematical formulas. And so you have a 5 and 4s as your only numbers there, and then you sub in your letters. It's actually not a very complicated um, formula if you just sub in your letters for your numbers. So ultimately, what happens is your horseshoe will equal 1. A star ends up equaling 100. So it goes horseshoe 1, clover 5, rabbit's foot 25, star 100. The wishbone is 1,000. Let me get my notes out here and keep my notes on my pad here. Yeah, so that's where I was working out the brands. There we go. So the math puzzle. A is 1, B 5, C 25, D 100, E is 500, and F is 1,000. So they go up very quickly. So immediately, if you see you have a lot of F, then you have way more than you have if you have a full stack of A, for example. So looking inside then, if you calculate which side has the most chips of high value, it ends up being Triangle, who's on the ceiling there, who has the F, E, and D piles that have the greatest amount. So that would be the piles that have 100s, 500s, and 1,000s in it. So ultimately, the answer to that puzzle is Triangle. And again, these puzzles, because they're in these little windows, are very difficult to read and manipulate. But the final answer there then is Triangle. Oh, so yeah, at some point the front door opened while we were messing around with it. Um, but yeah, so ultimately the dials, we've got the United States from that window, the brand from that window, the bomb, and then the triangle. And when you do that, this little piece, it doesn't come all the way out, but this little X lifts, which then opens the door. The other thing about the door, ultimately, I didn't actually, the first time I opened this, I opened it without having solved the puzzle because inside of this window right here, there's a little spring, and the little spring automatically opens the door. I figured this little button was, it pushes on this shape on the bottom and it's spring loaded. Uh, I just thought that was the way you opened the door. So it is fully possible that once you open this window here to just push this button, which opens the front door, which makes the little coin fall out. So they want you to solve the puzzle by putting in the dials, but you can solve the puzzle as soon as you pop these pins out of the top underneath of the puzzle. So you can actually solve the puzzle without having done any of the logic to it. You only need to turn this dial to open this window, to push this spring-loaded button right here to open the front door to release the coin. The coin has the saloon doors on it and a little, I guess it's a bucking bronco on it. The cowboy has a little lasso. And then, like all of them, it has the little shapes on the outside. These usually indicate future puzzles that are coming out, past puzzles, depending on when you've received them. So I think maybe this little deer here is supposed to represent Maya's myths. Whoops. This one would be Stonehenge's Legacy, which is the one that came out after it. Not sure about this little Celtic symbol, for example, or this vase. But this is the coin that comes out through the front door. It's also a little difficult to get it out through the front door. It can require quite a bit of shaking to finally get it out. The piece of paper, because that bottom doesn't actually open. So if this were a box you were getting in order to put a gift in it for someone, it could be kind of difficult to use it for that purpose. I don't know if you could get like a gift card in through that door, for example. You could probably put like money as a prize for someone in there, but it's even difficult just getting out the little slip of paper that you scan in order to reach the website where you can tell them that you solved the box. So there are things I really like about this box. I think this three-dimensional box puzzle is kind of fun and kind of a cool idea. I like that it's shaped like a saloon. It's kind of cool. But I hate the fact that you can solve so much of it accidentally. You can just, you can just speed run it by opening that top without solving the puzzle, pushing the little button that's inside this door, and you're done. So that's kind of frustrating about this puzzle. There are some cool ideas, and then there's some really lazy mechanisms in it. So this one, at its price of $54, would I buy this one again? Um, I feel like it's more of like a $40 puzzle, maybe. And I would yeah, since I can't actually ask them to change any of the mechanisms, like make this minute hand actually do something, I wouldn't say it's worth like the $63 it is on their own website. It's not really worth the $55 that it's being sold at right now. But maybe for a slightly lower price. If you get it on sale, I think it'd probably be worth it. So there's some things I like about this box, and then there's some things that were pretty disappointing about it. Um, but that is the Wild West Riddles box from Inscape, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for joining me for another Puzzle Box Solve and Review. If you're interested in more Puzzle Box content, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to be notified of our future videos. Take a look at the description below to see a complete list of my Puzzle Box collection, and if you're interested in our other doll unboxing videos, check out our channel and playlists. Comment with your requests and your thoughts. Your support keeps us motivated. Hope you enjoyed the video. Oh, hi. You're staying, huh?